this stuff in real time, okay? Steve, martial law communications net, including numerous foreign assets, was fully established between approximately 2 and 3 a.m. Eastern Time, Saturday morning, March 5th, inside the continental U.S. Beginning as early as Tuesday, March 1st, a number of foreign-accented English speakers were being heard in different areas of operation around the country. They were involved by type of specific traffic heard, setting up communications operators with various airborne and spaceborne military commands inside the continental United States. By Friday, March 4th in the afternoon, this activity became more pronounced in a large number of units on apparently nationwide comnets, separate from and with command levels superseding Andrews, began sending and receiving high-frequency communications. By the early morning hours Saturday, and after a repeated message containing a triple eagle in the radio designator, nearly all the nets switched to encrypted digital trunking networks. Only those units in more remote areas of operations too far from fusion hives were still using HF radio communications. A deep background source had suggested on Friday afternoon that if Triple Eagle was heard, a new command structure for the United States was probably being set up. In fact, then, later that night, the Papa Bravo 2 Triple E was heard repeated multiple times, and not long after, the net went to that digital trunking system. So in other words, every communication now is going into a digital trunking system where only the people that have the radios that are allowed by specific frequencies and codes are allowed to listen in. So what Hawk is saying, quite candidly, is that a martial law communication net is now in place with the military at the control of the seams. Now, look, we know what's going on in Libya. We know that, I mean, this is the most insane thing, especially when I read to you Jerry Golden's vision that God gave him concerning Saudi Arabia. But we know that the President of the United States, and this was predictable, would ask Saudi Arabia to arm the Libyan rebels. Now, what's wrong with that? Well, there's so many things wrong. But let me get back to this warning, because this is critical, ladies and gentlemen. I cannot guarantee you tomorrow. No one can guarantee me tomorrow. And if it weren't for the intercessions, I know I wouldn't have a tomorrow. But by the grace of God, you're being told this stuff in real time. This isn't about anything other than the love of God pleading with his people to get serious, because the days are so evil. And Jesus even says he's going to cast a generation into the midst of the tribulation. That
Amen.
means to basically throw them in explosively. So listen to this. This even gets more difficult, you know. After that, information from numerous law enforcement officers in various parts of the country were detailing how they were hearing odd units communicating on their trunking system nets, units that were not familiar with U.S. military or federal agency communications procedures, units whose operators were speaking with heavy and unusual foreign accents, and units they had never heard before at all. Since the latest digital trunking communication system requires the newest radio hardware, digitalized permission from central command hives to even activate the radios, well, then there is no question that these said radios and specific digital permissions and activation of the radios has been done by the highest levels of U.S. military command or by the highest levels of DHS or specifically FEMA. They could not be on these nets unless authorized. This has caused quite a stir amongst police in numerous cities who may not be fully in the loop as to just what is actually going on. Subsequently, and this is interesting, I mean, the whole thing is mind-blowing. Subsequently, this Sunday, March 6th, early a.m. foreign unit in an obvious rural location out of range for use of the digital trunking radios, most likely in a high mountainous region, used the HF military frequency to request a phone patch. This foreign unit was speaking with such foreign accent and broken English that it could hardly be understood. This unit didn't know procedure and was basically saying, anybody out there, we need a phone patch. The English was really badly broken and foreign accent was extremely heavy. Note here that as the exact accent was not Hispanic and may have been Middle Eastern, Asian, or East Bloc, exact language unknown. The people listening obviously speak Spanish. It was not Spanish. After a couple of attempts, Andrews National Comm Center operators come on and said, you have a foreign accent, and I don't know what the heck you are talking about. Then the foreign unit microphone was obviously passed to another speaker whose English, though still very foreign, had a slight hint of a British accent. like a Middle Eastern or Asian speaker, but with a hint of a British English accent. He was able to get Andrews to understand, and then Andrews took the phone patch off air. There is no question this is a foreign military unit operating in some more remote location of the continental United States. It was not in some other country, but in good old America, and has been authorized by the highest level of the U.S. military to be here. We have seen these types of operations twice before, with martial law Papa, an ultra-black military flag rank, setting up the Lighthouse Network in 2006 when the financial collapse began its earliest, and Congress was threatened with martial law in the U.S. if they didn't vote for the TARP bill. Again, in 2008, this type of net activity was activated and was larger than Lighthouse. This current net is even much more larger, and now digital trunking encrypted system is fully operational. The martial law Papa is control of this country and his military units, federal agency personnel, state, county, local police units, as well as large numbers of foreign military, mercenaries, and police are ready to fully implement martial law. The green light has not been given, repeat, has not been given yet. It appears that all of this has been done in anticipation of some large event or in a timing relationship to say, i.e., related to Middle Eastern events, such as the interdiction of Saudi oil shipments due to internal revolution or an eruption of war, a.k.a. the Gog-Magog war, with all the ramifications for nuclear exchanges, either of which could collapse the financial markets and banking systems worldwide and would cause severe shortages of gasoline, even at perhaps $10 per gallon in the U.S., the inaccessibility of money from banks or ATMs, and disruption of all food distribution systems, and hence massive riots and distributions. It is also possible that the Gog-Magog war kicks off for real and that Russian subs could launch within 2 to 3 minutes on select targets on the east and west coast, and EMP strikes which could take down the entire electric grid. This is no joke, I repeat. Martial law Papa is ready. His net is up, and his hunt units await orders, although some don't know it yet. Watch for escalation in Libya with the U.S. and British involvement, of course, anything in Saudi Arabia or Iran and Persian Gulf. On Friday night, it was seen that probably British SAS were either doing halo, meaning high-altitude, low-opening jumps out of a TR-3B or a TR-4 or a Zodiac boat approach may have been done. As of Sunday, there are now reports that an SAS unit and a junior diplomat, which is basically an MI6 operative, that's British Secret Service, were captured by Libyan rebel groups. This afternoon, sources have indicated that a 210-character war-length message was put out on military high-frequency HF frequencies. Exact timing of anything happening not known. Pray and prepare in earnest. There is power in the blood of Jesus. Hawk. Now, that's a whole lot of stuff. But what that basically means is that everything is in place. That's the other thing I'm calling all intercessors and all men and women of goodwill, that you will pray as if your life depends on it and say that God will bring confusion in the camp of the enemy and that this entire plan will be made known. Because, Bruce, I went on record a decade ago. This is before there was all kinds of revelations of how crooked our politicians are and how incredibly corrupt the bankers are. And I said, before God allows the destruction of the United States of America, he's going to reveal the sins of the leaders to the people and the people their sins before he allows this launch on America.